All right, welcome back to our YouTube channel, everyone. Salute, Andy. What's going on?
Hey, Jess, what's happening, man?
So we got a little bit of news we're going to talk about today. We got WWE and announcer Adnan Virk have parted ways as of today. There's a one-sentence line on the website about his release. He was just hired last month, so it was short-lived. Andy, fill me in on this because I don't know too much about Adnan Virk. But you knew about him coming into WWE.
I do actually have that one sentence here. It's WWE and Adnan Virk have mutually agreed to part ways. WWE thanks Adnan for his work. So Adnan was a big debut at the the Raw after WrestleMania this year, as opposed to any actual in-ring talent. And he just kind of showed up. I don't think there was really any indication that he was going to be on camera before he suddenly was that afternoon. Adnan is a veteran sportscaster. I was familiar with his work working at ESPN. He had a show on DAZN with Scott Rogowski, the host of the erstwhile HQ Trivia, if you remember that. He also worked at an MLB Network as well. So he's been around, and it was the kind of hire that when he showed up, I knew immediately 6 weeks is pretty good, I think. However, I think it was 6 or 7 shows that he ultimately made it, but somebody like him who's coming in from a sportscasting background is absolutely not going to have any time for the guy in his ear telling him what to say, especially someone who seemed so pretty not cold to wrestling. He seemed to know what was going on and understand it, but I wouldn't have said he was a fan, and I don't really know if that's necessarily a requirement these days, and certainly not in Vince McMahon's eyes if you can do the job. But in an article through Sports Illustrated, he actually references getting the job through Nick Khan, who is apparently the president of WWE, former super agent from the CAA talent agency. But
he's the guy who took over for the two people who left last year. Oh gosh,
wasn't George Barrios? Was it?
Yeah, George Barrios and Michelle Ramos.
Possibly.
Michelle, I forget her name, but he's basically. I guess you could say he's taking over those two spots, more or less. There is a restructuring, and he's in charge of strategy. And I guess Adnan Virk was one of his buddies. He brought him in. So
yeah, Khan was his agent previously before when he was at CAA. But
so it was a homie deal.
Right. And WWE has attempted this in the past with other announcers. I know Mike Adamle is a very famous example, and
Jeff Harvey,
Jamaica Me Crazy, Jofi Kingston. Those are repeated ad nauseum. Jeff Harvey is part of the Botchamania intro. Like, it's an iconic botch, and we're all richer for having Mike Adamle in our wrestling lives.
Absolutely.
I don't know if we'll say that about Adnan Virk. I know if you were really listening close, there are a few gaffes that he had, but I don't think he had anything along the lines of that. I don't really think he was given the kind of leash that Mike Adamle was given, who was just, and a lot of times, just given a live mic and kind of told to go swim. But I remember I was talking to JD Oliva in the Fight Game channel as well about when WWE tried to poach Mike Goldberg back in 2005 and offered him a rumored 6 figures to no-show UFC event and then turn up on WWE television, which he ultimately declined. But this was back when JR was still around. They were eternally trying to replace Jim Ross. Even if you look at someone like Michael Cole, who, he's much ballyhooed former field reporter, has experience covering the Branch Davidian in Waco, Texas. And, at least that's the main thing I know about Michael Cole outside of
the Serbian-Croatia conflict as well for CBS.
So foreign correspondent, basically, definitely not the type of person who you would think would coin phrases like boss time and Raw rolls on, but
never expect to see him in a singlet.
One of the worst WrestleMania matches of all time, which saw him get covered in barbecue sauce as well.
Right.
You're welcome for the image, folks. So this was just really never going to work. From someone with Virk's background, was never going to take, I think, the kind of, I don't even want to say micromanagement with WWE. It's really nano management at certain points with Vince McMahon, where it's just his way or the highway, and it doesn't matter who you are, where you came from. And I'm sure Nick Khan and Adnan are having a nice chat about, can you fucking believe this guy? But otherwise, it's just this was just kind of destined for this. In 6 episodes, I think maybe under. I probably would have put the over under at 10. But this, he goes the ways of Rob Bartlett and many other failed Raw announcers before him.
And Tom Phillips is now on 205 Live, from what I've read, and I think I saw him on one of the episodes 2 weeks ago. So I don't know if that was either considered a demotion or a permanent move, or he'll be back on Raw. I have no idea, but short-lived. But Adnan Virk is gone from WWE. If you liked him, I guess I'm sorry, but no more Adnan Virk. I mean, I guess there's no more. There's not much more to say because, gosh, it was really quick. I mean, I barely got a chance to watch him in action. But,
brief, but so meaningful. I mean, his presence on the Raw after WrestleMania was felt, if only because it was so different. And they have, Tom Phillips is very good. I really enjoy him. Vic Joseph, I think, has also done very well. I know he had a short-lived run on Raw with the guy in Retribution now, Mace. I can't think of his other gimmick name at this time, but
the Aussie guy.
No, not Shane Thorne. I can't think of his name. This is so unprofessional. It's not Donovan Dijak. It's not Shane Thorne.
Mustafa Ali.
No, it's not Mustafa Ali. Mace.
Yeah.
Okay. So his name is Mace, and he is in Retribution, and he was once the. I got to look this up now. I'm sorry, folks. We're doing this because. Hit me like a sack of bricks when I actually see it. And
it'd be cool if it was the rapper turned preacher Mace, M-A-S-E. Actually, M-A dollar sign. Excuse me.
Put some respect on that name.
Whew, it's been a while.
Bad boy for life. Oh
all right,
my god! I have every name for this guy except his.
Who is this guy? Who is this fella?
Oh my god!
I'm sorry, folks. I'm not caught up on my what is their name? What's this group's name again?
It's Retribution. Dio Madden. God, what a terrible name. I deserve. You know what? I don't feel bad for forgetting that now. That's fine.
I feel like I've already forgotten it.
His big moment. It's Dio, like Ronnie James, and then Madden, like the video game. What a
perversion and insult to both Ronnie James Dio and John Madden.
If he did a top rope move called the Holy Diver, I would be okay with it.
Okay, that's okay. But wait, Dio Madden was
like a tope.
Was he an announcer as well?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is he had a short? He was next to Vic Joseph,
and he got beat up or something.
Yeah, his claim to fame is that he got F5'd by Brock Lesnar through the table, and that was pretty much the end of him on commentary. And then I'm pretty sure the next time we saw him was when he had been rechristened as Mace in Retribution. So I remembered all that, but I couldn't remember the guy's name. Like,
I think that speaks to how the programming is presented. I mean, we're not supposed to know. We're supposed to know just in the moment, but the logic behind why this fella got beat up, he got F5'd by Brock Lesnar and then appears in a quasi really milquetoast Antifa type stable called Retribution. And why is that? Well, nobody really explained it.
But I think the way that Excalibur has been doing play-by-play on AEW shows has really kind of shown you that WWE commentary doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter who's doing it. Like on that show, we have a character. He's kind of established. He has, the mask. He's learning. He's not perfect, but it's a much more organic way of doing commentary because he's a real person. They don't want me up there commenting on Raw. I would not do a good job for that because I'm not going to sell the way they want to. So it's just, I don't really know if commentary even matters anymore. The fact that Vic Joseph is pretty much the same guy as Tom Phillips is kind of saying a lot about that. So I just don't know if commentary really even matters anymore. So the fact they just tried to shoehorn in an ESPN guy, which they love doing, there are a lot of talent traded back and forth between those companies as far as on air, but it just, was never going to work.
Well, you mentioned AEW earlier, so let's jump right in and talk about AEW's news because AEW is going to AEW is going to TBS this January. AEW Dynamite will move officially to TBS this January from TNT. I don't know what exactly to expect yet because we won't really know how to talk about it until it happens next year. But they're also announced that there are going to be 4 Clash of the Champions type of specials on TNT as well. So it's really becoming WCW completely down to the business plan.
It is. It is. I think this is a smart move on AEW's part, if only because the thinking here, I don't think, is let's go after Raw. It's let's go after SmackDown. Like SmackDown with its big move to Fox, way more eyes on it. TBS, while it's still a cable channel, is in a lot of homes. It is a bump in viewership for AEW, and it's just the classic network. Cody Rhodes is determined to do everything that his father did, and then some. It's not even that it's WCW. It's we're like at Crockett levels at this point.
Right.
So you and I are of an age where we remember wrestling on TBS. I think it would be entirely possible to have born in 2002 and lived a whole rich life as a wrestling fan and never watched wrestling on TBS. So this could be a new idea. But for folks like us who grew up with 605 Saturday Night Wrestling on the Superstation, I loved the announcement. I know they were kind of going for that. They nailed it. TNT was always a good fit as far as Turner. Obviously, it's their flagship cable channel, and that's where Nitro was broadcast for so many years. And again, that's the idea. The thinking then was, let's go after Raw. But Raw is just kind of existing in its own 3-hour bubble on Mondays as its own thing. And, AEW running Dark Elevation against it is pretty funny if you ask me. But the thinking here is no longer we need to compete with Raw. The thinking is we need to compete with SmackDown. So from a business standpoint, I see where AEW is coming from, and I love it. I think this is a much more shrewd move. And it also kind of breaks up the stigma of, think what you want, but WWE running NXT against AEW was kind of to make it seem like NXT and AEW are kind of analogous and that they could be looked at as a similar product. Whereas NXT, again, they're going back to being a developmental territory, it looks like, for all intents and purposes. So AEW is big leagues. They pay big money. They book big shows. They are the second biggest wrestling promotion, certainly in North America, if not the world. We could haggle over New Japan's placement on that list another time, but it just makes perfect business sense. And as a guy in my 30s, wrestling on TBS is cool. They're on. I don't know. Is Conan still on that channel? Does he still do that there?
Conan the wrestler, or Conan the Barbarian? Like
Conan O'Brien.
He's actually leaving. He's going to be leaving soon.
Well, yeah. He's going to WWE?
No, he's doing a podcast. He's on Spotify.
All right.
Yeah, he does. He's doing more of these like one-off
podcasting.
Interviews. Yeah, it's more like an interview show. Yeah, right. Actually, you mentioned New Japan, and that's actually when New Japan Strong is airing as well on Friday nights at 10 Eastern. So you got 3 choices come next year. You're going to be able to watch Rampage, this new AEW show. You'll have SmackDown, and you'll have New Japan Strong. And I think that AEW will definitely. Well, you can't really think of New Japan Strong as a show that's it's an on-demand show. That's when it airs, right? But I don't know how many people watch New Japan Strong at that time. It's an on-demand show, just like NXT UK, 205 Live. People watch it weekly, but they seem to watch it more so on their own time because it's not what's the word? It's not must-see wrestling unless it's in the news cycle.
I don't think having competition on Fridays will be a bad thing either. Please give us a reason to watch SmackDown. Please, if you guys need the shot in the arm to keep that show interesting, I hope the $1 billion deal with Fox was enough. But if Vince McMahon always really seems to gamely respond to competition. So hopefully, if you want to make SmackDown a better product, that certainly wouldn't hurt. I know.
Well, I've heard only good reviews, more or less, for the past couple months, especially since the WrestleMania time. That SmackDown's been a pretty good show, pretty consistent too.
Consistent's a great word. I think consistent is great. I think especially when you look at the roller coaster of just what the hell is going on with Raw. SmackDown is a much more tighter show, obviously with the 2 hours versus 3, but it also has the biggest star in the company on it, and Roman Reigns, and he is kind of the the body in which everything is revolving around, and ultimately everything in the company seems to be, with the exception of the title scene on Raw, it almost seems like it's all revolving around the inevitability of Roman Reigns returning as the giant baby face of the company. And, they're just kind of getting out of what they can with him, but they're even kind of running out of things. I think with, if he's going to feud with each Uso individually, we're killing time, I think. This no slight on the Usos. They've been doing the best work of their career. And I just don't know if there was one of them. Yeah, I could probably buy them as a new single star, but I don't know if we could, unless they split them up on brands. I don't know if that would ever work. Because it's essentially like each show has the same guy. Like it would be like when the Dudleys split up, where the Dudleys had the same gimmick. You had to literally turn Devon into a reverend, and then Bubba Ray did nothing differently. But you couldn't have them both doing the same gimmick on each show. So one of them would have to have some radical change. Ultimately, I think they remain as the Usos and just go after being, one of those WWE superlatives of the greatest tag team of all time. You'll see that too. I bet as the Young Bucks start to do more in their careers, you'll see WWE try to stack up like, no, we have the real greatest tag team of all time. And it'll be the Usos, who are also brothers.
Yeah, but I don't know how if you're going to do it between companies, how are you going to, what's the criteria? Just who they're pushing at the moment is the best tag team in the world ever of all time.
Well, it'll be like people like you and I arguing over this, where as far as WWE is concerned, nothing the Young Bucks have ever done has ever mattered, because it
actually never existed.
Right. Who are they? Well, they did, or maybe whatever their run was there, where they didn't.
Oh yeah, they're piss hands. I forgot.
Yeah, that's right. They didn't shake my hand, so they never worked here. But yeah, I mean, it'll be like for people like us to discuss, like, okay, Usos versus Young Bucks. But as far as WWE is concerned, I do think, right now, I would say they would say the New Day, obviously, because they had them break Demolition's record. But when it's all said and done, when those guys are getting inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, the narrative will be they are the greatest tag team of all time.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. And I think we'll see more of that when I'm interested to see what happens this January. I think right now in May, it's too soon to tell what could happen, because I don't know what's going to happen this summer, especially with both AEW and WWE planning tours for a couple months from now. I think that'll also give us some more insight onto where the TV deal ends up, or where it's aimed at.
Let's do a quick bonus question right here, right now at the end.
Okay.
Because I know where I feel. You and I have attended several wrestling events together in the course of our lives. You ready to go back?
Me personally?
Yeah.
No. I mean, maybe. I don't know. I guess it depends. I haven't really thought about it. I think at the Moda Center, they're going to do the playoff games there for the Trailblazers. And they have it set up. They have actually a vaccine section. If you're vaccinated, you sit in the vaccinated section.
Yeah, the Knicks are doing that too in MSG. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard Atlanta Hawks made them very sad a couple nights ago.
Shout out to Keela Cash.
Hey, what's up, Keela Cash? My heart was not broken because I'm a Knicks fan, and I've had a broken heart for a long time. So, okay. Anyway, back to shows. Would you go to a show? Would you go to AEW Double or Nothing or WWE?
See, that's where I'm at right now. Is first and foremost, I've never been to an AEW show. I would really like to go. I kind of trust them to do what they need to do regarding the pandemic. It seems like they've done a really good job. They've done things that they could have probably gotten around being in Florida with a much lighter crowd. Think about when Sting debuted and the amount of people that were there for that. And they could have, that was at a time where it's like, okay, we're in Florida. These things are relaxed. They still didn't test the waters, and they just kind of moved forward with it. So I kind of trust them. I'm not going to a house show or like MLW or anything like that, but I would go to SummerSlam. I don't know if it's in New York this year, but I'd consider it. I know that sounds kind of crazy that that would be the one where there would be the most people, but I would like to go to a bigger show again. So yeah, I do miss it. I think I've been out of everything so long, and just the opportunity hasn't presented itself at all. Right. I absolutely would have been to an AEW show by now. If I know if either that one that was supposed to be in Rochester that was canceled, or I would have probably traveled even further for it, because I'm just interested in seeing it now at this point. So But yeah, as far as things I'm willing to pay for, Mania, SummerSlam, AEW pay-per-view, pretty much in that order.
You know, I
Go to the New
definitely
Japan show if they do that.
Yeah, Japan has a different situation going on, but right now is a really bad time for that. So I mean, I'd love to go there now, but right this second, no, because I don't even think Americans are. They're suggested not to go because it's at a level 4 uh, COVID risk level alert thing they have going. It's bad news there. But for me, I'd be more comfortable next year going to somewhere like WrestleMania because it's going to be, like you said, the bigger events, they're going to be a lot bigger. But I think because of the nature of the event, there's going to be more space in general, both physically and just a lot of like, you don't have to be sitting on top of each other in a place like Tokyo Dome, where sometimes you kind of have to, depending on how packed it is.
It's a baseball stadium, right?
Yeah, but they were going to use they're going to open up the dome part this summer and going to have the first open air dome. But and they usually hold it in winter and they have to close it. So, but WWE, like a WrestleMania, because I'd rather actually go to like a UFC or a Bellator or some kind of like boxing in Vegas before pro wrestling, because I don't think pro wrestling has, like, each company has their own, they're approaching in a different way, not too differently. Everyone's doing pretty fine, but I think someone like UFC, company like UFC, I mean, because they jumped on, they got into the business first last year, I suppose, when COVID broke. Apparently they have it figured out. They have a good system, and the show in Houston a couple of weeks ago seemed bonkers on TV. And because of that, I think I'd check out another sport first to kind of see what's going on. And I think WrestleMania will have more opportunities to, feel comfortable and meet up with people and watch cool shows. But who knows? I'm assuming a lot of us will be vaccinated fully by then. So, but again,
fingers crossed.
Yeah. But yeah, let's wrap it up for today. So that's our little news show. We'll be back sometime soon when the hot news drops. Andy's gonna dish it out for you, and I'll just kind of be here holding this stick mic like Bob Barker. So for Andy, I'm Justin. Salute. I'll see you next time.